All right, so in this first example of questions, we are going to be using the circle to calculate the circumference. We remember that the formula for finding the circumference is pi times diameter. Our diameter is 12.4. We're going to solve it using two different ways. The first way is by solving using an approximation of pi, using 3.14. I'm going to do it on paper, so should you. And I'm going to do 12.2 times 3.14. As a matter of fact, magic trick. 12.2 times 3.14. And we should be able to do all of the multiplication as we normally would. 2 times 4 is 8. 8, 4, placeholder. 2, 2, 1, 2 placeholders. 3, 6, 6, 3. Then we add them all together. Drop down my 0, carry my 1. 4 plus 6 is 10, plus 2 is 12, plus 1 is 13. Drop my 3, carry my 1. 1, 2, plus 6 is 8, 3. Remember, I have 1, 2, 3 numbers behind decimals. So I'm going to have 1, 2, 3 numbers behind decimals. That means that my circumference is 38. Oh, boy. My circumference is 38.308 when we use pi as an approximation. So then you're going to go ahead and put that answer in there. Got you guys. We're flowing, we're rocking, we're rolling. Let's do it. All right. Again, I said that the answer is 38.308. We can leave it as that. If we were solving using pi, remember this, we're going to take pi, which we know is 30, which is this really huge number, and we're going to multiply it times 12.2. This is a way more accurate number. We're only going to use the first like 3 place values after the decimal to write this answer down. So the answer that you should have would be this. And then you're pretty much going to practice doing that same thing as we continue to move on. So again, now that we know this, we know that the radius is 1/2 of the diameter. So if we wanted to be able to do this, we would take the radius, multiply it by 2, and then multiply it by pi. Coming out again. So we've had all of the formulas when we use diameter. The only difference when we have the radius is that we have to add a step. That means that the circumference is going to be equal to pi times 2 times r. It means the radius times 2, which equals our diameter, times pi is how we find our circumference. It's just one extra step that you have to do in your multiplication, most of which you would do in your head anyway. So when we're thinking about this, we have 3.9. Yes, we have 3.9, and we're multiplying that times 2 and then multiplying it times pi. So 3.9 times 2 gives me 7.8. 7.8 times pi. When you put all of that in together, we'll go back to my screen share. .9 times 2 gives me 7.8. And then first we're going to do 7.8 times 3.14. So 7.8 times 3.14. That's going to give me 24.492. I'm going to put that down here. 24.492 thousandths. We're going to take that same number and multiply it using pi. I want to come out of screen share so you guys can see this. 7.8 times pi equals 24.504 thousandths. I have that super long number. 24 times 500.504 thousandths, which is a lot more accurate, but not far off from when we just used the 3.14 approximation. Part C says, Mr. Mackinac looked at his circle and said a good estimate for it when it would be 3 times 8. I'm sorry. Mr. Mackinac looked at this circle and said a good estimate for it would be 3 times 8 equals 24. If you don't have a scientific calculator or scratch paper, why is 3 times 8 a good estimate? 3 times 8 is a good estimate because, one, you're just rounding up the radius to a whole number. Right now, we know that the radius is 3.9. 3.9 is like 10 cents away from 4. So what Mr. Mackinac did is he rounded up to 4, and then he just rounded pi to 3. And so he rounded this to 4. He said this is approximately 4. And then he also said that this side of the radius was approximately 4. He added them together. He just estimated that he had a radius, that he had a diameter of 8. And then he multiplied 8 times 3 because he didn't have a scratch paper or a calculator to just do that 3.14 calculation. He did 3 times 8, which gave him 24, which is really close to the answer that we got when we did the approximate and the exact calculation. So you could say something along those lines when you type that in your answer, but you would only know that if you're watching this video and taking notes. That's why I'm not writing it in the Google Forms, because I want to make sure that you guys are actually paying attention and not just kind of copying as we're going. Cool. Let's see what else is there. Alrighty. Said the answer, so I'm not going to type it. I'm just going to put that in there. I'm going to keep going. So here are some level 1 problems. You need to show your work when you put these answers in. I'm going to give you like a handful of answers, but make sure that you're completing everything, doing the work and showing everything when you're going through these. We're calculating the circumference of the circles below. The first circle is 26 meters. That means that we're going to take 26 and multiply it by 3.14. Then we're going to take 26 and multiply it by pi. These answers are not going to be the same, which is why you have to show your work when you're doing it. I'm going to make a separate video that shows the work for the level 1 problems. More importantly, questions like 4 and 5, because those are going to probably be the more challenging ones. As a matter of fact, you know what? We're going to go straight into those rather than making a separate video. You guys can continue to watch this one. It just makes more sense. We've modeled those problems. Let's look at some real world scenarios. Tyson says that a circle with a diameter of 9 feet has an exact circumference of 9 times pi feet. Jamie says that the exact circumference is 28.26 feet because her answer has decimals, so it is more precise. Who is correct and why? This is a really great question. The reason why this question is great is because it makes you have to go back to the notes and think about what we said. The most exact answer that we could have is supposed to be 9 times pi. The main thing is because that ratio for pi is an irrational number. And so whether you use pi or 3.14 or you use pi in your calculator, the most accurate thing is going to be 9 times pi because that exact number is going to be there. So I would say, more importantly, it's not just you picking the right answer. It's you being able to define what you're going to say the right answer is and explain why you believe that to be. If I were a student in this classroom, I would probably say that Tyson is more precise because he is using pi, which has the value that it has, whereas the decimal that Jamie is using is an approximation. It's not going to be as accurate as the exact value of pi, something along those lines. Mr. DeLorme was trying to figure out, this is question number 5 now. Mr. DeLorme is trying to figure out the approximate circumference of the circle below by using 3.14 for pi. Describe the mistake he has made and what he should have done. I'm going to go back into the screen share so that we can look at this together. What he did was he saw that the radius was 2 meters, and then he did 3.14 times 2. The mistake that Mr. DeLorme has made and I don't want you guys to fall into this trap. The mistake that Mr. DeLorme has made is not multiplying his radius by 2. When you have the radius, it has to be multiplied by 2. It has to be multiplied by 2 and the product multiplied by 5. By pi, sorry. And that is the lesson. I want you guys to answer every single question, especially if I didn't do it on video. That exit ticket matters, and doing those questions in your Khan Academy also matters. It's super important that you guys do that. Make sure that you're not like making a mistake and like not finishing this because you stopped where I stopped in the video. I stopped there on purpose so that you guys can practice doing this independently and on your own. Moreover, if you need any extra additional help, Khan Academy has a bunch of videos that are designed to teach you this probably better than I am. As well as when you're doing the practice problems on there, after you get done with this packet, they'll like coach you through what you should be doing to get it right the next time. Moreover, you know that I'm here. I'm available for you guys at 11 to 12 every day. Those are my office hours. If you need to hit me on some other way, you can text, call, FaceTime. You know what it is. It's quarantine classroom, quarantine. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you're getting this work done. Super proud of you guys for putting up the effort and putting in that work every single day. All right? Peace.